No guessing, just catching. New Explore Series fish finders keep you locked on fish with unbeatable clarity, best-in-class imaging options, and a stunning ultra-bright HD screen. There's more to explore, only with Humminbird.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
"19 degrees along the beaches of Maniloking." That is Wednesday. I do not see any blitzes. I do not see anybody fishing. I don't see much of anything, but I also don't see any icebergs, and that's good. It's Thursday, January 23rd, 2025, just 37 days until outback striped bass season reopens here in the Garden State as our weekly countdown to striper season in New Jersey continues. Though, of course, as temps continue to drop this week, hovering around the single digits Tuesday into Wednesday and barely out of the teens as we head into the weekend, I can't imagine that Wayne Bishko and the rest of the Maine worm farmers will be clawing around through the mud in search of bait. But they are. Jim Hutchinson with the Fisherman magazine, and God bless you all, you worm farmers. As we've spoken about in recent weeks, there are some shops in New Jersey that continue to keep these wormers digging through the winter months to keep blood stocked all throughout the season, especially for white perch where waters are open or perhaps where ice conditions may allow it. I don't know. Collins Cove, Mullica River could happen this season. But you've got Akira, True World Tackle in Bayonne. Dave Scholl at Absecon Bay Sportsman Center. He's always a phone call away. Dennis at Hook House Bait and Tackle in Toms River, of course. And if you're out there and if you've got bloodworms for sale, let me know. Ray, you guys do not have bloodworms. Opening day here at Grumpy's. And I'll tell you why I'm at Grumpy's in just a moment. But again, air temps have folks really gauging their overall interest in getting out and about catching fish right now. Wednesday here at the Jersey Shore, below 10 degrees to start the day. And Thursday today, we are climbing into the teens heading for the weekend, which is why if you're chomping at the bit to get out there and do something, well, there are a couple of headboat options to talk about. With freshwater, open water streams are producing some trout. And of course, we're starting to get the best ice conditions here in the region that we've had in quite a bit. But if you're like me, you may want to stay indoors, which is why I'm shouting to Ray on the other side of the shop. We're in Grumpy's Tackle in Seaside this week. I'm here for my annual winter broadcast as the big winter sale is coming up this Saturday and Sunday, January 25th and 26th. This is the one where folks are lined up outside of the shop in the frigid temperatures, waiting to be the first one in line at the Scabelli's table. The doors will open at 7 a.m., but yes, Scabelli lures will be here. You get the gliders and also swim duck lures. Now, Ray tells me this event this year, 7 years old, more plugs for sale at this event than there have been in the last 7 years. You'll also find the blowout table behind me with rods, reels, tackle, and more. That's on both days. Scabelli and the duck lures, the swim duck lures, they're only here on Saturday, but the sale is here Saturday and Sunday. Also on Saturday, you've got seminars by Surfcasters Shell Karras, Michael Kim from Jigging World, and Scott Thomas, the new co-owner of Yakety Yak Kayaks right next door. In fact, that's where all the seminars are going to be taking place this Saturday at 10 a.m., 11:30 a.m., and 1 p.m. respectively. By the way, next week I will be hopefully up at the Tackle Box in Hazlitt. We're filling the guys. They have their Back Bay Day big winter sale scheduled for Saturday, February 1st. A lot of sales going on right now, a lot of fishing flea markets, and a lot of options. We will run through our latest fishing reports at thefisherman.com and look at a few more of the events coming up in the next week. But on that plug side, I mentioned surf plugs. And again, I didn't see anybody plugging along the open beaches this week, but I'll tell you what, it was another good run back in 2024. So I know a lot of you have your favorites. Perhaps it's a Scabelli glider or maybe something local and custom along those lines. Maybe it's a Yuzori twitch bait or a Tsunami twitch bait. Perhaps it's that SP Minnow that you keep in your plug bag at all times. On this week's Open Boat, we are wrapping up the 2024 fall run season in Jenny's first ever Surfcasters Challenge which spotlights a few of your photos and your favorite fish. It was a great success all around for this first version of Open Boat, where we share some of the photos. Hopefully we'll do it again in the year ahead. But a lot of great stories, a lot of great fish caught. And as Jenny shows, there was a lot of attention this season on catch and release.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. The glasses are on, the laptop's here. You know we are going over the part 3 of the Surfcasters Challenge. We're here at the winner's circle highlighting your catches on your favorite lures. First off, I just want to say thank you everyone who participated. I had a great time reading your emails, seeing your pictures, and just talking to you through emails, just going through everything. Hearing your fishing stories are always great. And if you didn't make the cut for this specific Surfcasters Challenge, don't worry, because I like the interaction so much and the participation from you subscribers. We're gonna do more in the future. We're probably gonna do one for the spring run, and I'm thinking about even doing one for like fluke season out front. If you go fluking, like your favorite bucktail or your favorite bait of choice or your favorite rig, I just wanna see more of like what you guys are fishing to compare it to what I fish for when I go fluking. So, and if you go to my seminars, you can learn about what I'm fluking, but more of that to come at the end of this episode. So let's get right into it, starting off with David and Paul. This entry was sent in from David, and he said that my buddy Paul was out with me for his first time ever striper fishing. Welcome to the club, Paul. You're gonna be addicted for life. And he said he hooked up with a 30-inch striper on a bone Super Strike heavy needle. And Dave says that he was lucky enough to hook up too, so the both of those guys were doubled up fighting these fish. And in the picture below here, you have a guy walking the beach who took their picture, so that was very lucky of them to not be on an empty beach, and you were able to capture the moment. So Dave is on the right. He says that his fish was about 36 inches, but he knew it was over slot, so they quickly took the picture and released it. So shout out to both David and Paul for, one, Paul getting on his first ever striper, and two, having a good buddy like David that's willing to take you out fishing and teach you. That's always a really good friendship to have, and now you have a fishing buddy to go striper fishing with, and you're gonna both be addicted to fall run blitzes and late nights walking the beach catching fish in the dark. So next up we have Jim Payton, and he first off thanks me for the open boat education. I don't wear these glasses just to look smart. I got the brains up here, so I'm glad I'm teaching you guys some funny fishing stuff, so you're welcome. And he said that he was fishing all morning before sunrise to about 10 a.m. and threw every single plug that he had in his bag. And he said that the same deal, people around him weren't getting any fish. There was a ton of bait in front of him, which is very similar to how my fall run season went. It was like purgatory for a lot of guys, where you had bait in front of you and you saw the fish feeding, but they didn't want anything to do with you. So he decided last resort to make a legal snag rig. I saw a lot of these getting used this fall run season, and big shout out for using the legal snag rig, especially when those peanut bunker were around, because they worked really well. So he used the legal snag rig and caught this 40-inch plus striper. Said it was very robust and had a great fight. And it had a ton of energy, and when he released it, it was safely back in the water, ready to fight again, or just fill up on more peanut bunker, because that's what they love to do. Thank you, Jim. Next up, we have David Ross from New Jersey, and his fish was caught on his favorite lure, which is the Caveman slope-headed metal lip swimmer. So that's a really nice picture on a nice metal lip swimmer. You can't beat a metal lip bite. Keeping it in New Jersey, we got Wallace Smith, who challenged me. He said, I definitely do not have this lure in my bag. It is a one-off homemade Hopkins and chartreuse, and I definitely do appreciate homemade lures. So you keep on throwing that, Wallace. Next up, we're in Long Island with Paul Reed. He has a fish on a diamond jig. Bringing it back to New Jersey, we got Scott Soletto with his fish on a bucktail. And then we have George Gaskin here with his fish on a pencil popper. Keeping it in New Jersey, we have Timothy Vess with his fish on a diamond jig. We got James Bier, and he says that while he was in Ship Bottom, all alone on the beach with my custom 8-foot rod, a VR50, 20-pound braid, 25 fluorocarbon leader attached via an FG knot, He landed and safely released this fish using his favorite SP minnow with inline hooks. Very nice there, James. Now we got another James who's back on the list, the second submission, James Payton. And he says that the first lure has a story. As you know, if you fish the beach enough days, you will find a lost lure washed up on the beach amongst the trash. And that's why he says he always has a cleanup bucket in the truck. And that's awesome because if you clean the beaches while you fish, you'll make it a better place for not just you, but the fish and all the wildlife around you. And you could find some cool plugs. That's a good idea for another future open boat. If we do another beach sweep idea, and then we see how many cool plugs you find on the beach and send in your submissions. So keep an eye on that in the future too. But he says that he found a cool plug, and here's the picture of it. And he discovered after doing some research that it was a discontinued lure by Sabile, the stick shad, the 6-incher, 3.5 ounces. So then he went home, put some split rings and hooks on it, and went to Island Beach State Park. And he said there was bait as far as the eye could see, but up close there were peanuts in the wash. And then the bait out far was adult bunker. And he said that all the folks around him were having trouble getting a hookup. So after exhausting all the lures, he decided to throw that stick shad. And he said that this was the best day of 2024. He lost count after 25. And this picture that he sent in was one of the 40-inch fish. He said that most of the fish were over slot. And he says to this day, he's still smiling. Absolutely love to hear it. Thank you so much, James, for sharing, and heads up to anyone else out there. If you do find a lure on the beach and it might look a little beat up, like, I mean, you see in this picture, this one doesn't have paint on it. It's got battle scars. So what? As long as it still swims properly, swap out those split rings, put fresh hooks on it, and fish it. That's, you get a free plug right there, you know. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Unintentional trash, because you didn't mean to purposely lose a plug, but you know the expression. So you got a freebie right there, and you're getting, like James lives by example. He crushed fish on a lure that he found. So always keep your eyes out when you're on the beach and pick up that garbage too. Switching from the beach to the boat, we're on board the Muscles Magoo out of Sandy Hook, New Jersey. And first up, we have the first mate, Joe Aris, with 2 fish entries right here. And then following him, of course, we have the captain himself, Captain Harry Brown, with an additional 2 fish entries from this fall run season. And last but not least, we have David Bambala from Connecticut. And he says he watched the video fishing forecasts with Dave Anderson and My Open Boats every single week. So thank you for being a supportive watcher. And he said that he is including this image from the fall run here in Connecticut on a local beach in Milford on the Long Island Sound. He said he decided to take a long walk on the beach on October 12th in the early morning hours when a short blitz happened right where I was standing. It was like a godsend. I was in the right place at the right time, and it was gone in the blink of an eye. There was nothing but small bait in the area, so I decided I would start with a 4-inch cotton cordell pencil popper. And he says that, of course, he changed out the split rings and the hooks to be better suited for saltwater. So when I saw the bass blowing up on the surface, I quickly made a cast right in the money and started to retrieve, and boom, I was tight. I knew I had a good fish and prayed the small hooks would stay pinned, and they did. I did not get a measurement, but I was guessing it was around 38 to 40 inches of a class fish, and I just wanted to take a quick photo and get it back in the water. Can't tell you how blessed and lucky I was feeling that day. You can't catch them from the couch. Amen to that, David. You can't catch them from the couch. Although I am sitting on a couch right now, that is the story. Anytime you go fishing or you want to go fishing, don't let that, lazy bones temptation get the best of you, because you could miss the best fishing day of your life. So that was all the submissions for part 3 of the Winner's Circle. Thank you everyone so much for participating. I know I had a great time covering it and reading your emails, looking at your pictures, and reaching back out to you via email. So we're definitely going to do more of this in the future. I love the interactions, and maybe with the winter season coming up, talk to me at the shows. We can do more of this at the shows, because I'm going to have my camera, especially at some of the bigger shows coming up this winter season. And also with the shows, I have seminars. So those seminars, if you can't make it, if you're not local or you're just busy, ice fishing or, fishing, it's fine. I'll be at the shows instead of fishing, but my seminars are going to be recorded. So following this episode of Open Boat, we're going to have a couple of weeks in between where my seminars are going to be live. So if you miss out on one of my seminars, don't worry, they're going to be on YouTube. And the best thing about a seminar on YouTube is you can pause it, take some notes, and then continue. So you can go back to it and reference anything that I'm talking about if you can't come to the shows themselves to see me in person. But definitely, if you can make it to a show, come out, because at the Fisherman magazine booth, we have our subscriber special. So if you have to renew your subscription to the magazine, or you're watching us on YouTube and you're enjoying the content, come to the shows, be a new subscriber, meet your team that is putting you guys on fish and giving you updates with rules and regulations, everything. Subscribe to the Fisherman magazine at the shows, because you get a show special, a pair of Danko pliers, and those are great. So definitely come see us. Check the schedule for the show season. Next week, we're going to be highlighting my first seminar of the 2025 season, where I'm talking about fluke at the Wildwood Fishing and Boating Expo. So that's going to be live on YouTube next week to get you guys ready for warmer weather and doormat fluke. So I'll catch you guys on next week's Open Boat.
The boats, bargains, and fun are back. The New Jersey Boat Sale and Expo. Hit the water for the best fishing season ever with savings on center consoles and fishing boats for inland and offshore. February 13th through 16th. New Jersey Convention and Expo Center, Edison. JerseyBoatExpo.com.
Life is better with a boat.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites.
Slow. Very slow. It's what you would expect fishing-wise, with snow on the ground and temps headed down into or near the single digits. I spoke to Greg on the Big Mohawk out of Belmar this week. He was out on Sunday in search of tog. He plans to give it a go again this weekend, but he did tell me it was pretty tough fishing. I also spoke with Captain Steve Spinelli on the Skylarker, also out of Belmar. He said he was out on Sunday, but, quote, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Steve said they caught some ling and some blackfish. The blackfish, it seemed, he said, turned on later in the afternoon, so he was glad he stuck it out for his crew. But as he noted, it's not bad for the third week in January. As for those ling that I mentioned, Tim at Fisherman's Den there in Belmar said it's the 4-inch gulp swimming mullet in green that has been really getting it done with those tasty red hake on the boats still sailing and looking for winter meals. In that sense, moving down into the Manasquan Inlet area, the Big Jamaica is scheduled to sail to the offshore wrecks on Friday nights, boarding at 11, leaving at midnight. Captain Howard said on our last trip we had strong currents and fishing was slow, but he told me on Monday morning that they reported catches of porgies, ling, and a couple of pollock as well. In fact, the pool winner was Melvin Alexander from Philly, with a 6-pound pollock, and they had high hooks, or hooks with porgies. High hooks were into the teens. So I don't know if there were any limit catches on those jumbo porgies, but they still are catching them. Meanwhile, nearby, Captain Joe on the Jamaica 2 said spotty conditions on Saturday, didn't report much life except for a few ling and short blackfish. He said he was going to start pushing a little farther offshore. With this cold snap, of course, the water gets cold inshore, and those tog are starting to move or bite more heavily on the offshore grounds. Across the Manasquan River in Point Pleasant at Fisherman's Den, Jason says it's been relatively quiet, with a few folks hitching a ride on local headboats and smaller charters, just picking away at blackfish for the most part. He did say that some guys have been stopping by the shop looking for safety gear, cleats and spikes, to head out and do some ice fishing. In fact, we hear that Assunpink has been the hot spot for cold water ice fishing of late. And it looks cold in this photo for sure, courtesy of Kevin Schick on the South Jersey Kayakers page. I'm not sure if any kayaking is being done at Assunpink. On the ice conditions, we spoke to Joe at Fairfield Fishing Tackle. They said ice has been good at Greenwood, the Muskie, Aeroflex, and Hepatcong. This image, too, courtesy of the Weather and Wakes Lake Hepatcong, New Jersey Facebook page. Joe said the Passaic River still open in many spots, and folks are still catching a few pike there, some perch and the occasional bass as well. But he also said that many of those open streams, I think the Ramapo, for example, not getting a lot of pressure, so the trout fishing has been pretty good for folks looking to get out there in open water and score on some of those fresh stocked trout. Fresh stocked meaning in the winter stocking, which I believe ended in early December, late November. But again, as that stocking was done in 2024, you're going to need to update your freshwater fishing license and make sure you get your saltwater registry too. I do all that by going to saltwaterregistry.nj.gov. Meanwhile, spoke to John Bullock at Old School Outdoors in Ewing. He wanted to remind everybody about the upcoming Shad Seminar. That's this Saturday, January 25th at Al's Airport Inn. That's located at 636 Bear Tavern Road in Ewing. The event features Kevin Ingram, a great shad fisherman, talking about the spring shad on the Delaware. It's not too far away. Start thinking about March into April. Tickets are $20. It includes free lunch, but seating is very limited. You want to call Old School Outdoors this week, 609-227-8142. You can also register by going to their website at osoutdoorsnj.com. We're going to look at a few more of the upcoming events in the region and take a look at a couple of the presidential executive orders earlier this week because they do impact our coastal fishermen. And in particular here along the Jersey Shore with regard to offshore wind. But first, let's get a closer look at how our ice conditions are shaping up with a look at the frozen tundra out at Beltzville with my man George Schauer, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, chilly temps and this calm wind is making it ideal conditions if you want to get out and hit this hard water a little bit. You know, you guys wanted to get out and see some ice. Well, it's here in spades, guys. Lots of places are on the Poconos, New Jersey, the Delaware's full of ice, even the Susquehanna River's full of ice. Especially up north here in Pennsylvania, lots of good ice fishing around, plenty of ice. And I don't see any relief in the next 10, 12 days either that's going to jeopardize what we've built up. A couple guys checked in this week. I know the storms had an impact on some folks getting out. Tom Lawrence, well, he checked in. He was on Silver Valley Pond down there in the Broadheadsville area. Managed to get himself a whole variety of fish, working some waxworms and minnows on some tip-ups. So good day out on the water there, Tom. Also, a couple good friends of mine, Josh Taylor and Steve Kolnick, a couple of great guides here in the Poconos. Well, they were out up north in Wyoming County, again, getting themselves a whole variety of fish through the ice up there as well. So definitely some good ice activity if you want to brave this cold, but there's some really good fishing guides. You can see walleye, catfish, panfish, crappie, so there's a lot going on. You just got to get out there, drill a hole, and do it. Go get on them. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
From the Pocono Mountains to the Pacific side of Costa Rica, some Jersey juice out there in Capos, Tackle Box, friends and family on the sailfish and marlin grounds with Captain Ben from Jackpot Sport Fishing at a Marina Pez Vela.
Guys, how's it going? This is Ben Gilmore from here in Costa Rica with this week's fishing report. I got Tom here with me from Nutley, New Jersey, fighting a blue marlin here today. We got a big old blue marlin, guys, like 400 pounds on the line right now. Absolutely insane fishing at the moment. Today we've caught 2 sailfish. We got this marlin on the line and we got a beautiful big dorado. We got lots of sailfish out here right now. Just the other day, we released 8 sailfish and a blue marlin. We had the Pelagic Rockstar tournament the other day and we were blessed to catch a 170-pound yellowfin tuna. Inshore, guys, we got snook, snapper and roosterfish along the beaches. But right now, guys, it's all about offshore. Wish Tom luck on his fish of a lifetime. Handing back to you guys. Thank you so much.
more events to tell you about to help you get in out of the cold this week. The New York Boat Show is running today through Sunday at the Javits Center in New York City. Open noon till 8 p.m. weekdays, from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. on Saturday and 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday. Look for the Fisherman magazine. We will have our booth there. It's number 658. And you get your Danko pliers when you get a new or renewing subscription to the Fisherman magazine. Also, you can get your tickets in advance. I believe you can save a couple of bucks if you go to nyboatshow.com. The Fly Fishing Show is going on in Edison this weekend. New Jersey Convention and Expo Center there in Edison. Show hours are Friday 9 to 6, Saturday 8:30 to 6, and Sunday 9 to 4:30. One-day admission is $20, just $5 for kids 6 to 12, free for kids 5 and under. Visit flyfishingshow.com. As a special note, on Saturday, the American Museum of Fly Fishing will posthumously honor the late Bob Popovics here of Seaside with the 2025 Isaac Walton Award. Lance Irwin, great surfcaster here in Seaside, will be accepting the award on his behalf. That is this Saturday, January 25th from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. We'll feature a tribute film and a slew of guest speakers. I believe Tom Lynch is one of them as well. God bless you all for that. The Sunshine Foundation will be holding their annual Fisherman's Flea Market on Saturday. That's the 25th. It's at the Edward Thornton Community Center in Little Egg Harbor Township. That's at 319 West Calabrese Way. It's right off of Radio Road. The event runs from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Admission is just $3. Also on Saturday, the Saltwater Sportsman Seminar Series rolls into Atlantic City with George Poveromo and co-host Nick Hanacheski. That is going to be at Resorts Casino on Saturday. I don't know how many tickets are still available or if they are, but if you want, they're $65. You can learn more by going to nationalseminarseries.com. And on Sunday, January 26th, you'll also have the first annual American Anglers Fishing Flea Market from 9 to 1. That's at the Barnegat American Legion, 499 North Main Street. They're in my hometown of Barnegat. Admission is $3. Kids 12 and under are admitted free. Fisheries management. You know I love to stay up on top of this stuff. I've got to do it. It's important to break down how the rules and regulations affecting our recreational fishing community are implemented, how they're designed and implemented. Not a lot of people like to know how their fish sausages are stuffed, but I figure I've got to do it. If you are interested in learning more, the Rutgers Cooperative Extension offers a fantastic course to help get you up to speed on all this stuff. It's a great program for anybody who wants to get involved in fisheries management. New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council, or if you want a position on the Mid-Atlantic Fishery Management Council someday, this is the type of presentation that'll bring you up to speed. It's college course educating stuff. Introductory Fishery Science for Stakeholders. They call it iFish. It's an online course, helps educate New Jersey stakeholders in the commercial and recreational fisheries, the whole process of stuffing fish sausages. The classes will meet on Tuesday evenings from 6:30 to 9 p.m. starting February 4th and running through April 8th. It's done via Zoom webinar. It's a $40 fee. There is an online registration that ends on January 31st. Dr. Doug Zemeckis told me you got to get in there and register before the 31st. If you want additional information, call Dr. Zemeckis, 732-349-1152. You can also call Dina Baudo at 732-349-1152. What I'm going to do as well is in this YouTube description this week, I'll put a link so that you can go there and register online. I know a lot of folks who have taken this course, very informative, very cool. It's all about fisheries management. And then there's this.
Executive Order President Trump is a regulatory freeze, as you announced in your speech, preventing bureaucrats from issuing any more regulations until we have full control of this, the government and this administration.
Oh boy, where do I begin? Love him or hate him, he's our president. And the presidential executive order started coming fast and furious on day one, with one of them actually mentioning fishing, quote unquote, fishing was in the executive order. So yeah, we should probably take a look at this, right? Doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on. We have 2 executive orders from the president this week that are worth taking a look at. So let's forget about immigration, taxes, China, or the price of a dozen eggs, and look quickly at what day 1 of the Trump administration has meant for our recreational fishermen. First, that video clip that I had recorded earlier this week. One executive order directs the Fed to issue no more rules in any manner, including by sending a rule to the Office of the Federal Register, until a department or agency head appointed or designated by the president reviews and approves this rule. Now, this is how that speed restriction rule came to get abolished last week, because the folks at NOAA Fisheries were still reviewing 90,000 comments, and they were approaching the end of the Biden administration cycle, and that's why they ended up pulling this. That was the speed restriction that would have impacted boats 35 feet and up. They ran out of time to get this rule into effect during the Biden administration, so that's why the Trump administration is saying no more rules. But in terms of how this new rule will impact other rules and regulations pertaining to our recreational fishing community, for example, season size and bag limit changes. Well, I reached out to some friends at the American Sport Fishing Association to see if they have looked at this and they had any idea on how this would impact it. Now, according to Mike Wayne, who's ASA's Atlantic Fisheries Policy Director, he said they're monitoring the executive order in hopes of better understanding its application and impacts. What Mike said is that ASA doesn't anticipate that it will affect specification rules, season size bag limit, or any specifications from NOAA Fisheries to allow a fishery to be prosecuted. But in theory, according to the folks at ASA, all rules will undergo review. Now, Wayne added that NOAA Fisheries was already asked about this executive order this week during a conference call related to Atlantic cod, with the agency essentially, the agency being NOAA Fisheries, essentially saying the same thing, quote, they do not yet know how following the executive order will impact rulemaking. So this is something we're going to have to navigate our way through over the first quarter of this administration. The second executive order issued on Tuesday was quite huge. It's something we've been monitoring and dissecting here at the Fisherman magazine for the past 5 or 6 years. A presidential directive that actually mentions fishing inside the executive order itself. It's the temporary withdrawal and review of offshore wind leases. Now, I read this as a suspension of any new federal leases on federal lands, federal waters, offshore at the Jersey Shore. But what about the existing ones? Well, while Ørsted, for example, has already pulled out of one of their South Jersey projects, they've got a bunch of other ones, but they pulled out of South Jersey. We still have additional survey work and planning for Atlantic shores, attentive energy, leading light wind. So I'm trying to figure out how this executive order would apply to those particular offshore sites. So the order stops short of freezing construction of offshore projects along the East Coast, but what it does is it directs the new Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum, to review existing wind permits like those I mentioned. Essentially, it doesn't take immediate action on projects already approved or under construction, but it will prohibit any more leases to be leased out, so no more lands being leased at this point. And it also launches a review of those leases that exist currently. Now, I've mentioned this before. The Government Accountability Office, at the urging of New Jersey Congressman Jeff Van Drew and Chris Smith, they're in the midst of a comprehensive review of industrial offshore wind and its impact on the coastal economy, on fishing, on navigation, on everything else. That's been going on since 2023. So I'm interested to see how this government watchdog review, the Government Accountability Office, will mesh with this new federal review that came under the executive order earlier this week. Now, Congressman Van Drew, a Republican, used to be a Democrat when he was a state senator here in New Jersey. He waded into a lot of fishery management debates over his time at the state and federal level. But what he said the day after President Trump signed this order, he confirmed the order halted offshore wind leasing and permitting, but explained how it also lays legal groundwork to permanently terminate these projects. That would happen by directing the Department of Interior to review existing leases examine the ecological, economic, and environmental impacts, socioeconomic as well, because this is going to impact our fishing communities, right? But anyway, Van Drew called this, quote, the beginning of the end. So, offshore wind, more than 3,000 wind turbines, giant substations to convert AC and DC, tens of thousands of miles of high-powered undersea cable, millions of acres of leased lands off the Jersey and Delaware coast, now up in the air. It'll be interesting in 2025 to see how this all lays out. Last piece of fish sausage stuffing for the week. I don't want you to forget about the webinar that's coming up on Tuesday, January 28th on the Recreational Reform Initiative. That webinar is being held from 6 to 8 p.m. I will be there to report back. You should have received the email about it this past Tuesday from the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife. But if you want, find all the information over at thefisherman.com. There's an article that I wrote called Support Sea Bass, Fluke, Porgy, and Bluefish Reform. Because public comment, all of our public comment, is due by February 15th. You can also, when you go to that story, but you can Google this, Keep America Fishing, because the folks at the ASA, American Sport Fishing Association, came up with an easy-to-use and also modified letter in which you can sign on and send your support for Option C of the Recreational Reform Initiative. Finally, this week, and my apologies to Jets fans, Giants fans, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, Ravens fans, Scott Thomas, and anybody else whose favorite NFL team did not make it into the Final Four. You know, of course, that I'm a huge Eagles fan. Forgive me, it's part of my genetics. It's going back generations. And yeah, my wife and I sat in the snowy Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday and watched the Eagles win over the Rams in Section 225, and I will be there again this Sunday. But here at Grumpy's Tackle in Seaside Park, owner Ray Carrico is not an Eagles fan. He's a Washington fan. He's a Commodores fan, or Comanche, or Commandos. I don't even know what the name is. Ray, what's your team name now? What is it?
Jim, this is going to be the best part of your video, isn't it?
I'm hoping it is, yeah. Ray Carrico is a Washington Commanders fan.
That I am.
So very happy. Had a
very
great team.
happy. Very happy. Never thought we'd be here.
Well, you are, and you're a really good team, and that's why this Sunday's game between the Eagles and the Washington Commanders is going to be a tough game.
It's going to be a very tough game. Let the best team win. I have a lot of Eagles friends. This bet that we're about to do is he's the only one I would do this with. So.
Oh, man, this is great. So here's the bet. If the Commanders win on Sunday, next week's video, I'm going to run down here. Ray's going to give me one of his Washington jerseys, and next week's video I'm going to do while wearing a Washington Commanders jersey. However, if the Eagles win, what we're going to do is Ray is going to wear one of my favorite Eagles jerseys, and he's going to do a little video clip for us with a report from Grumpy's next week while you're wearing Eagles apparel. Deal?
Very, very tough pill to swallow, but yes, let's do it.
Let
the best team win. Let the best team win.
We'll see. Come see Ray and the crew this Saturday and Sunday at Grumpy's, and we'll find out how this wager turns out next week right here at the Fisherman Magazine.